Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War event objectives for the With a Song in My Heart event, in which the Orpheus Priestess is added to the game. So, this week is a pretty tame week as far as events are concerned. However, we do have the very strong Ironhawk available in Soulforge finally once again. So, great time to go pick up one, two, or three of those, particularly two or three. Anyways, let's start getting into everything as far as teams, troops, and all the things throughout the week. So, first things first, the glory troop available this week is Orpheus Priestess. Unfortunately, nowhere near as good of a cleanser as Orpheus. It does share a little bit in that it has like immune to silence with a cleansing ability, but it doesn't have that impervious to it, so it will be pretty much never used, unfortunately. It gives, comparatively, it gives all other allies a quarter of their mana and then cleanses them. Overall, there's just better cleansers, doesn't even have Empower, so you can't even do something like Mercy can, where it can turn one, get that cleanse. Mercy also has potential of extra turning, whereas this thing has no chance of extra turning. Overall, it's just not good to use. There's better options out there, and there just is no reason to really use this. Even earlier on in the game, you're better off with like a 250 win hero weapon, cleansing weapon, rather than trying to bring something like this into your team. And it's just, unfortunately, just going to be nothing else than getting Drifting Sands another star. It does technically reach 27 star, but it is possible that you might not have all the pets. Is this cosmetic? Yeah, it does require one of the cosmetic pets. One the Australia Day from 2 years ago. It also requires the very elusive 18s that are, of course, not worth using due to the current lack of accumulating deed books. Merchants made it a little bit easier, as well as angels, but it is still a very slow process to get more of those. Anyways, as far as the event key drop table is concerned this week, it is of course associated to Leonis Empire, which is what this event week is. As far as those drops are concerned, every single thing that you see here, except for the 4 faction troops from City of Thieves, is available. City of Thieves is actually a pretty good farming faction that we'll have tomorrow as well. But every other thing that you see here, other than those 4 and Leonis Tower. Leonis Tower is also only in Soulforge. It's actually pretty commonly used with double Invulnerable. You basically use Enraged Karandera in last slot, this thing in first slot, and double Stealthy in between. It's most commonly used to counter Zolgoth in Guild Wars. However, it can be used for a few other contexts too. It's kind of tanky. But overall, its ability is kind of lackluster and tends to mana block more often than not. As far as this kingdom is concerned, it's pretty skippable on event key drop table unless you're looking to get like 10 star, 20 star, some kind of other milestone. Most of the options here aren't really used that often or have better versions, like Corvash used to be used quite a bit in the past, but there are better true damagers, there's better mana drainers, and there's better stunners now, particularly elementals in that regard. So there isn't as much of a need to really be using a lot of options here. I would say one of the more commonly used things, oddly enough, even though I don't feel like I use it too often, but it's a great utility trip to have your hands on, is Voice of Orpheus. It does have the safest amount of cleanse of any trip in the game, having both Impervious, Cleanse on trait, and Cleanse on ability, meaning it'll pretty much always have a way to cleanse. It's generally really clunky and very slow on most teams. However, it does give you a really good chance to cleanse, so it could be good for things like dungeons, your 3 daily dungeons, as there are a lot of annoying stats effects that this can get rid of. It's also used in some PvP-like situations if you're just up against a lot of stats effects, and you just really need a consistent cleanser, though a little bit less used on Yellow Guild War Day due to the enemy countering out your yellow being one of the main ways that you tend to do it. Though, if they're spamming a bunch of yellow, you can also still get it that way. It depends if they have a counter to it or not. But anyways, overall, pretty average kingdom. So you basically only open it if you feel like you need more stuff for the kingdom. Oh, there is one thing in there that I forgot to mention, though. Divine Shpala. She has gotten nerfed a couple times. She only has 40% mana start. She's the only 50% mana start with 40%. So kind of unfortunate there. She's still very strong, still has her double enchant, no longer has her cleanse or some other things like that, but still used in divine teams, still used for some skull spam teams. So it might be worth picking that up if you don't already have it. Otherwise, it's mostly just for completionist sake, everything from there. Anyways, the only event that we have going on as far as guild-related events, well, I guess we have raids this Friday, but as far as like the standard one, we have Road Event. It's one of those 15-15 formats where it goes 15 with the lower 2, 15 with the lower 4, and then once you hit 31 forward, it is just going to be the same thing over and over again. Basically, just don't take Blade Dancer and you should be good to go. Is the one that gives the least amount of points. We are restricted to only Leonis Empire, which doesn't leave too much to be desired. We were just saying that the event key drop table is not particularly good, and guess what the event key drop table is, of course. It is just all the Leonis Empire stuff. If you are looking for some cheaper things to use, Falconer, pretty consistent mana accumulator, into Skull Pressure, into Resummon. So it kind of covers all your grounds. King of Thieves can scale like crazy if you want to go down that route. Corvash is also always good, consistent option. If you want to build, I don't think there's enough Divines in this kingdom to do so, but you can kind of build around Divine and Shpala. And of course, if you just have any of the mythics, you could try building your whole team around that. With the main exception being Voice of Orpheus, is you're not really going to need to cleanse as much, whereas, oddly enough, something like Flame of Anu, despite not being particularly good, is a little bit better for this current event due to his higher amount of damage compared to the average thing within this kingdom. But yeah, we have a few okay options. We do have the Leonis Empire weapon in Soulforge too, if you want to go grab that. Obviously, our entire team has to be Leonis Empire, other than Hero if you choose to make it something else. So you gain a lot of value from this. You'll have at least 3 troops to boost ratio off of, and 4 if you go Dervish Hero class, which unfortunately, not the greatest of hero classes, but it's kind of usable in that kind of context, if nothing else. Anyways, other things that we have going on this week. We still have a really good faction going on tomorrow. City of Thieves. This is one of the best, if not the best, farming faction in the entire game. Keep in mind, if you are deliberately keeping your City of Thieves at level 20, do not do this faction event, as doing this faction event above 20 will permanently increase your City of Thieves also beyond level 20. So if you're keeping it at level 20, just keep keeping it there. However, for everyone else, great time to go farm this if you want to spend like extra sigils, or just do it if you don't already do the Tuesday factions, as it has a really good ratio of treasure rooms combined with some tier 5s. Which is kind of nice. Next, we have ourselves the pet for Wednesday. I actually forget which one it is. I'm pretty sure it's something related to the kingdom. This was one of those that was like in the files for so long, and I always thought it wasn't, because it wasn't for so long, and then like a few years later, they finally added it. And I completely forget what bonus it is. Whatever it is, I'm pretty sure it's a pretty irrelevant one. Thursday, we have ourselves the class event for Dervish. Pretty unfortunate hero class. Doesn't really get used for much. But you probably don't have it upgraded if you don't have everything maxed yet, so good time to go get a little bit of XP for it. And this Friday, as I mentioned, we do have a raid event, particularly a Broken Spire raids. So we'll be able to use everything from Broken Spire. I believe this is the first time we really get to use Etten for a restricted event like this as well. So you can use Etten Skull Spam into Mang into the Raid Slayer. So we have a pretty good option for that, and it's pretty cheap too. As far as soulforge is concerned, there is one thing you should go craft, and one thing only, and it is the return of Ironhawk. So we are getting an Adana rework soon, which could either buff or nerf Ironhawk. We don't really know. Who knows? Maybe they'll buff it. Maybe it's not strong enough. I'm not sure. Its ability could definitely use some help. But, of course, Ironhawk, primarily used for its final traits, particularly for key farming, vault key farming. It is insanely quick at doing so, about 50% quicker than the next best option, which are like Rowan quick kills or any kind of like AoE one-shot kind of team, like Diamantia. But basically, you just use this with Sister Superior Dust Devil into double Ironhawk, or Dust Devil into triple Ironhawk, and it can one-shot. The triple version does 20 damage, but allows you to win in one click, mostly used for kingdoms that have a Explorer at 1 that you can end up one-shotting in. For example, Sinner Mirage is one of them that you can end up one-shotting in consistently, as long as they don't have 20% bonus on that given week. So you just go cast once, boom, dead. And the same thing with the other team, except you have to cast 2 times, but you get 25 damage, which greatly increases your damage range, which allows you to do things like Paloozas, verse farming in other kingdoms other than just like Sinner Mirage and a few other the handful ones that could still be one-shotted, like Drakzoom, I believe, still in one-shot range. I believe Wild Plains still is too, for 20 damage. But with 25, you open that up to most areas, except for the ones that have like a 0 attack troop, as those 0 attack troops have a lot of durability overall due to their 0 attack, which makes them capable of surviving it in most situations. But Ironhawk, definitely probably the first thing I would pick up. Like, double Ironhawk is so important to get. Unfortunately, that does require 8,000 diamonds, but if you've been saving for it, well, good time to go cash in on them. And if you don't have enough right now, well, start saving till the next Ironhawk, because there's still plenty of time to go use it, even if they are adjusting it in a couple months. But we'll see. Hopefully they don't touch Ironhawk, and it can remain as a staple of farming, as it would encourage people to actually go get this mythic, because if they ever nerf this thing, it'll be so useless. So hopefully they don't. But do be wary that there is a Adana rework in a couple months, so we don't know what the current state of Ironhawk will be until after that. And if it doesn't get touched, then we know for sure. So one thing that you might gather from that is it might actually be worth skipping this one if you feel like it might get nerfed. Because, you know, if you're going to throw like 8,000, 12,000 diamonds on it, and you're only going to get like, what, 1 Volt event to use it on, you better farm that Volt event a lot. Otherwise, you might want to wait just a little while. Just to see what happens in a couple months, and then if they don't change it, well, the next Ironhawk you see, you go buy it out, and if they do, then, well, go use the diamonds on something else. But, I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. We don't really know what that will be until it happens, so just kind of have to wait. But as it currently stands, in the current state of the game, it is by far the best farming troop you could possibly get at any point, until they change it, or for forever if they never change it. Anyways, as far as weapons are concerned, we mostly want they're all pretty much bad, but if you're going to pick up one, pick up the, this one, I believe it is, yes, the Leonis Empire one. This will be a great weapon to run for the current event. It's not required. You can definitely get away with teams that don't have it. One of our teams does show it without it. It actually uses a 250 win Dervish class weapon instead, which is very accessible since you can just get 250 wins on Dervish class. But if you are looking for something to make Ward event a little bit easier this week, the Chris hook is by far going to be your best option as far as assisting items are concerned. And everything else here is pretty much just if you want, for completionist sake, to get the kingdom upgraded and all that. And most of them are just not really that worthwhile. Anyways, let's start getting into a couple of the teams. So, of course, we have several teams for everything throughout the entire week. First, we have the higher rarity ward event. Basically, just uses Corvash spam. Flame of Anu is mostly here for the burn fairy fire, particularly the fairy fire option, as we're primarily going to be killing with Corvash. We do have extra damage on our hero weapon, getting the full boost ratio from having 4 dervish troops on our team. It also gets to support monsters, which is kind of nice because we have Emperor Corvash as a monster. I believe Flame... no, this is actually Divine Beast, not the Divine Monster. But at least it helps Corvash out, if nothing else. And we're using 2 of them, so double the bonus. It also helps itself, as it itself actually counts as a monster, oddly enough. Doesn't seem like it would, but it is the monster hero class, which is weird, because if I'm not mistaken, this kingdom has only 5 monsters, which makes the Thursday class event kind of clunky, because it is a monster-based kingdom with a total of 5, right? Yeah, 5 monsters. So I'm actually surprised because we didn't even get a monster with the most recent one. It actually reminds me of the issue with Adana, which is probably one of the reasons why it's getting the rework more so than anything. Adana is another kingdom that is composed really weirdly of humans and another type. In this case, it's humans plus mech for Adana. In the case of this kingdom, it's humans plus monsters. But there's a problem with that. There are more humans in this kingdom than there are monsters. And it's a monster-based hero class, and it's just so very weird. They actually changed this with, oh gosh, what's that one hero class called? Death Knight. Because Death Knight was considered a knight, but there was barely any knights within the kingdom, so they changed it to Daemon. And, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that with this class in the future, where they change this class to human, and then add a monster-focused kingdom in the future. Who knows, maybe that's what's the next kingdom we're getting in, like, a year or several months. It could be a monster-based kingdom, and then around the time they make Dervish into a non-monster. Though they'd have to change the final trait if they did that, so maybe they won't do that, as his final trait is very monster-focused. But, oh no, it's just so weird that he's a monster in a kingdom that has almost 0 monsters. Anyways, and they didn't even add more. They had a perfect opportunity today to add another one, and they added a human instead. But yeah, it has the Adana problem in that regard. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the kingdoms that gets another rework soon. But anyways, as far as the ward event at the lower range, I was kind of mentioning this earlier, but 250 wins on the Dervish Hero class will give you Sample of Anu. Not the greatest weapon, but it's a pretty good weapon for how accessible it is, so if you don't have anything else, you could use that. We have King of Thieves. He's used for quite a few things this week. He gains a bunch of stats, does some damage. Overall, mostly used as a tank, oddly enough, despite not having any score reduction. But it's mostly because he gains a lot of stats off of his trait. And we don't have too many tanks within this kingdom. Next, we have Moneylender, just for red spam. Even if you die on King of Thieves, you are going to be able to summon another red, that being off of Falconer. Falconer also creates red, Hunter's Mark, and ends up getting a Falcon summon into the first slot, or Warhawk, I should say. It ends up doing extra damage to things that are Hunter's Marked, and will basically be your constant resummon, and your only red if you were to have died on King of Thieves, and just keep getting the resummon in the first slot. And he has a little bit extra mana there, as well as she has the 50% mana start. So the first cast, you can just take a single Green Surge, get the full, and cast it from there. Next, we have the faction. Faction for tomorrow is City of Thieves, one of the best, if not the best, farming factions in the game as far as overall loot is concerned. We are allowed to use standard Rowain, which is always nice. Just Leprechaun straight into Rowain. Any weapon, any hero class, you can go up, get EXP to any hero class you want. And of course, Mirage Queen for the 50% mana start, so Rowain could just one-shot immediately. For the higher level range, we do have good old High King Iron Gut Zolgoth, so we'll be rolling with that, just using Leprechaun as mana accumulator and Essence of Evil just to not block them, while also mana accumulating, while also having a way to curse for the Iron Guts Devour. Finally here, we have the Pure Faction team. Basically what you want to do going into the final fight of Pure Faction is have King of Thieves, Street Thief, and Tome Robber. Due to this, it is commonly ran with double King of Thieves to make sure that if you get skull spammed, as you do have to go by at least one tier 5 room at minimum. So in case you get skull spammed out, you'll at least have one King of Thieves remaining. Alternatively, you can double up on either Street Thief or probably even better, Tome Robber, and go just one King of Thieves and just double up on Tome Robber then, and basically have double Tome Robber instead of double King of Thieves. That is the other option, so you have more skull spam, but of course, more skull spam also means more of a chance King of Thieves can die. So, I don't know, I generally just advise double King of Thieving, just in case your skull spam backfires at any point, as it can miss even at 14 skulls. We see how much Zolgoth missed at 12. The only reason it seems like it does less is because there's freeze, and of course this does not have freeze. There's no way to freeze with them. So, yeah, you're going to have to just kind of hope that they don't miss, and one way to kind of bypass that is to double up on your King of Thieves. So if it does eventually miss, it's not as devastating, because if you lose your King of Thieves, the final fight's going to be really hard, unless you have a lot of stats from all the potions and everything. Next, we have the Dervish Hero class. As I mentioned, actually, we see the page right here. These are all 5-year options, so you could go Corvash if you want, or something else. Main reason for going this guy, 2 of them. It has yellow link, so any yellow weapon at all, even like any of them at all, will end up working out really, really well for the extra bonus. Basically, just feed into a yellow weapon, get the AoE spam, and boom, you're good to go. But the other alternative method is to go and go with Corvash. You do have access to Corvash, troop damage it down. It also has stun, so if we had a 100% revive troop, you can end up stunning it so it doesn't get its revive. So you could end up going down that route if you so choose. You can also stun off your hero if you really want to, or just doing Frost Mage here for higher damage pressure. And for weekend raids, this is going to be Broken Spire raids starting this Friday, and it will go Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And pretty standard raid team, or at least the front of it. Mang to go hit the raid slayer, or the raid boss, the Zolgoth. And then you go with Igneous to go kill it out. He's the raid slayer guy. He also has an all red to brown convert, which can help feed into your other troops. And we have a double brown banner to help out with that as well. And we finally get to use Etten. He did get reworked in the Broken Spire rework last year. I believe towards the end of last year. I don't remember exactly when. But sometime last year we got a Broken Spire rework. And yeah, I don't feel like I've used Etten much since then. It's very situational, but this is one of those situations where it's pretty good. It destroys a column and creates 4 skulls for every purple destroyed. So it's kind of like Deep Borer in that regard if you end up getting at least 2 purples in your column, and if you get even more, you'll create way more. Actually, I guess Sky Hero is a little bit more of a comparison because it does the same thing with yellow, red, yellow, red, I think it is. So it kind of does the same premise of that, except with skulls and boost ratioed by destroying purple. And it starts with Empower, which is probably the most relevant thing about this, so you can get your Mang into your high amount of attack damage, and then as you're waiting for Igneous to get his mana, you can simply just double Etten and use your very high damage that you'll have from armor tearing off of Mang in order to damage pressure, kill the first 3, and then once you get Igneous, go kill the raid boss. So should be a pretty easy, straightforward event, and all this is super cheap too. Igneous you'll get during the event if you don't already have it for a small amount of gems, and is a very common rare that I believe you also get copies of as you're buying tiers in the event, so if you don't already have it somehow, you'll definitely get it by then. And of course, Mang, you get about 23 red-brown hero mastery from leveling up. And if you don't already have it, you'll have it very soon. So very easy, cheap team. And we're just using a standard Barry on Brown hero class with Brown Storm as start. You could use other alternatives, but we're using Titan. Actually, one nice thing about Titan in this context too is Igneous does not naturally have a half mana start, but it does get a half mana start as it is a giant. And the final trait of Giants is 50% mana start to all Giants, which includes itself, as well as the Igneous, making it even easier to get your mana. Of course, this doesn't apply to Etten, even though it is a Giant, due to its Empower, so it'll already have its full mana. Anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up for now. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'll catch you all later. Goodbye, everyone, and thanks for watching.